Today I'm going to show you how to make this variation of a sleeveless raglan top, and it starts now. Hey guys, it's Elizabeth from ElizabethMadeThis.com, helping you sew something creative. If you're new here to Elizabeth Made This, welcome. I'm so glad that you are hanging out here with me to talk about sewing. And if you have been subscribed for a while, thanks for showing back up. So my friends, today we are going to take on this raglan top. It is a variation of the raglan sleeve t-shirts that we've been talking about the past couple videos. Now we're gonna go a little bit beyond the basic, but I actually think that this one is easier than the basic t-shirt because you don't have to sew a neck binding. Instead, what we're gonna do is we're going to really quick and easy change up our pattern so that we can add a little casing here. And that casing is just a little tube, see, little tube. Our scarf is gonna thread in through the casing, around the shoulder, to the back, through another casing, and around to the side, and then get tied there. So if you have lots of vintage scarves, that's me. I have lots of vintage scarves. I love vintage silk scarves, and I'm always looking for a way to use them. So this is a great excuse to use all of the vintage scarves. And if I want to change it, I can just pull it out and thread it back up again. So let me show you the quick pattern changes, and then we will jump into sewing it, and I will see you in a few. So now we're going to make our facing pieces. So the first thing we're going to do is grab a ruler, and I'm going to make a line 1 inch below the seam line on my raglan front. And this is just going to lower the neckline a little bit. And once I've made that solid line that's parallel to that seam line, I'm going to put 3/8 of an inch above that for seam allowance on my neckline, and that's the dotted line that you see. And then once I've made that first dotted line, I'm going to go 2 inches below that first dotted line, and that's going to be the depth that I cut my casing at. And we're going to trace that piece in a second. So first I'm just going to grab my marker and trace away. I'm 2 inches away from that dotted line. And I need to do the same thing on the back piece. So you can see kind of in the corner there, I've got my dotted line, my solid line, and my other dotted line. And now I'm going to grab a piece of tracing paper, and I'm going to trace around the center front, both of the dotted lines, and also the edge of the armhole where it's matching right there within those dotted lines. And that is the center, the piece that I'm going to cut for my front casing, and I want to do the same thing on the back side. So I'm just tracing over that on a piece of tracing paper. I'm actually using that soil separator cloth from Home Depot because it works really well. But that's all that we need to do for the pattern pieces for that. But now I need to measure how long my arm bindings need to be. So I'm going to measure from seam line all the way down the front armhole, and all the way back up the back armhole from seam line to seam line. And then whatever that measurement is, I want to subtract 1 inch from it, and then I need to cut 2 of those, and that's going to be my armhole bindings. So first let's go and cut out our pieces. Let's get to sewing it. So grab your front piece and your back piece and put them right sides together and sew up your side seams. I'm using a serger today, but go ahead and use a zigzag stitch if that's what you have. And now I'm working on the wrong side of my t-shirt, and you can see I've got my armhole opened all the way up, and I've got one of my armhole binding pieces. I'm going to put the right side of that to the wrong side of the armhole, and I'm going to pull on the binding just a little bit as I'm stitching it all the way down, up and around. And now I'm going to press the raw edge of the binding towards the stitching line, and I'm going to wrap it around towards the front side. So we're going to see the binding on the right side now, and we shouldn't be able to see the binding on the wrong side. So I'm flipping it around, and now we need to top stitch the binding down into place. So that's what everything looks like on the right side when you get the armhole bindings top stitch down. Now grab the facing piece and press in the seam allowance on both sides of the neck of the sides. Top stitch those down from the right side. And then also press up a 1/4 inch hem on the bottom towards the wrong side. And we're going to match the right sides together of your facing and your front neckline, and then stitch along the neckline with your seam allowance and do the same thing with the back casing and the back piece. So now I've got my necklines together and they're nice and stitched, they look great, but now I need to understitch the facings. So I'm going to press the seam allowance towards the face and I'm going to stitch really close to my first stitching line. So I do that for the front neckline and also for the back neckline. So now I'm going to flip my casings towards the inside and you can see where that stitching line is. I should be able to see that stitch on the wrong side. So now I just grabbed a needle and thread with some contrast thread, and that pressed edge that I did earlier with my casing on the bottom so that I could hem it, I'm just going to tack that down with some quick big basting stitches, and that's going to make it easy to top stitch these casings from the right side. So I'm doing that on the front neckline for my facing, and I'm going to do the same thing for the back neckline. So you can see there's just big ugly stitches. They don't have to be perfect. We just have to get them nice and clean down. You don't want to use pins here because it's going to be really hard to move out because we're going to top stitch from the right side. So I'm just using big honking stitches, and I'm just tacking everything down so it's nice and neat. So just turning in that little tiny 1/4 inch that I've pressed and just stitching all those little things down. Now I'm going to flip everything over and I'm going to top stitch everything down. So you can see like I've got a nice neat thing. I did my top stitch double, and now we're going to pull out our basting threads because you don't need it anymore. It served its purpose. It's coming out. And that's all there is to the sewing part of it except for them. So hem it up with a double needle. Now grab your scarf, and I'm using an elastic threader, and I am just going to put it through one side of the neckline and all the way through towards the back and through to the other side, and I'm going to pull the opposite way to pull my scarf on through, and then I'm just going to kind of adjust it, and you probably want to try it on at this point to just see it and just tie it right at the neck. That's all there is to make your scarf neck raglan tee. And so you can see it's really simple and great way to show off your vintage scarves and just something different for Team Raglan. So I want to know, are you a vintage scarf lover? Is this something that you're gonna try? And tell me, please tell me if you want to do this tutorial. You can always tag me on Instagram at Elizabeth Made This. I'd love to see what it is that you guys come up with. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and thank you for watching. Happy sewing. Bye. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed that raglan sleeve tie neck tutorial. There's lots of other cool stuff here happening on Elizabeth Made This, so go check that out on the videos over here and there and around my head. And don't forget to subscribe. Thanks so much for watching. Happy sewing!